how we start the business. All right. Before we get into all that, I need you guys to change your mindset real quick. Look, problems are merely opportunities for us to grow into our best selves. What can go well will go well. You, my friend, are bigger than your problems. In order to do this, what you need to do is you need to think of what can go well. This is going to work for you. Don't worry about the problems that you've heard from before about being a landlord or about getting into real estate. Just approach it that why won't this work for you? Because it will. All right, here's the lowdown. Starting a business. There's a couple things that we need to do when we're starting a business. First thing we need to do is establish a business address. We need a physical address. Reason why I say establish a business address is because in this game, what we want to use is we want to use a foreign address or separate entity, separate physical address other than our residential property. We do this because this is a kind of a safe haven, which later can be used as a somewhat of an exit strategy. But I'll explain all that at a later date. Once we have our business address, we attain our EIN and DUNS number through the LLC establishment. This is really not that big of a deal, quite simple, but we're going to use our business address that we created or established to start the LLC. This is where we'll receive all our documents and information and whatnot. When we fill out our forms, potentially like light for light service or water service, we're going to use the business address. Okay? The next thing we need to do is we need to open a separate checking account, business checking account. This is primarily for documentation purposes. It helps us keep track of where all the money is going. Also, if you can help it, you want to separate your individual personal account from your business account, simply for later on if we need to detach. But again, I will explain that in a later date. Once we have all those, we then need to establish a trade line. Trade line, and I'll explain briefly what I mean by trade line. All right, anytime mailbox. This is what I use to establish the physical business address. The reason why I use anytime mailbox is because they provide an address in any county and all across the country. What they do for you is they receive your documentation and they scan your documentation in for you and upload it as a PDF so you can view and download the PDF from your smartphone or your PC. But it helps keep track of all documentation later on in case there's a need of an audit or you need to pull up some information from before. They store all that stuff for you and they convert it to PDF file. Nominal charge, maybe $6.99 a month per account. Again, at the end of the year, this is also a deduction. So don't worry about that. But anytime mailbox is what I use. I'll put a link below so you can get a discount if you use that URL. The next thing we do is we establish our LLC with the business address, the physical business address we just created at anytime mailbox. We'll get our EIN and a DUNS number. I've used 3 companies so far. I've used InkFile, SWYFTFILLINGS, and LegalZoom. LegalZoom was a bit more expensive. InkFile and SWYFTFILLINGS were fairly similar in pricing, but more affordable than LegalZoom. And within 7 days, they will establish the InkFile they'll establish the LLC, and the EIN for you. I'll put the 2 URLs down below that you can use to go directly to the site and establish it. Fill out the paperwork. You're going to fill it out with your business address. Again, if you need assistance, I'll walk you through it via Zoom meeting or Zoom share screen meeting. Then we'll open a separate checking account. I've used LILI and Brex, BREX. I link the Cash App to Lily and Zelle to Lily. That way I can transfer money to my Lily account and then pay individuals via Cash App or Zelle. It allows me to keep track of what what we're paying contractors, workers, or purchases that we make for the business purposes. And again, I'll put the URL for Lily at the bottom. If you use the URL, they'll give you an additional $50 just for signing up or joining the account with that URL. Then we need to establish a trade line. And what better way to establish a trade line or a credit than using one of these? This is what I use. I always recommend you open a Home Depot business account so that you can keep track of the materials that we're using, because when it's time for tax purposes, it's very easy or simple to just print it all out and hand it to your CPA or accountant. When you open the trade line with Home Depot, you can open a business account with Lowe's or Menards or Ace, or a combination of both, or all four if you're capable. That depends on your credit. I'll also have a link down below to a credit website that will help you fix your credit if you don't have the credit. Again, I had bad credit when I started as well. All you need is one account. And that's it, my friends. Now you're ready to start playing the game. If you need assistance, you can contact me at indewellLC@gmail.com, or you can send a text to 281-812-6819. $60 for an hour worth of Zoom meeting. I can help you. I'll walk you through it step by step via split screen if it is too complicated for you. And that will be all for today.